one of the conversations that we hear all the time in our industry as we continue to evolve and expand into so many different areas outside of hardcore traditional Pro AV. We hear words like digital twin, IoT, cloud computing innovations, infrastructure, things like that. Conversations that really even 3 to 4 years ago we weren't part of. But what's been really interesting and cool to see is as our enterprises have evolved and as our communities evolved, the AV community at large has been integrated into a holistic tech stack that really brings up a lot of questions and opportunities for growth and education and understanding, not only from the enterprise IT and digital transformation world, but from some of those AV folks as well. And wanted to spotlight that conversation today and also chat about a partnership between two of our biggest organizations. So I said, look, we want to have that conversation about two of the biggest organizations in each industry. So we're going to bring on two of the best from the industry. So we've got Dan Goldstein and we've got Bill Hoffman on from the Object Management Group. You guys know this show, you know Dan, but Bill, you're a new face. We appreciate you coming on.
Hey, glad to be here, Ben.
So look, Bill, I want to give you the first question here because this is a question that in our community we face all the time. So Pro AV traditionally, and this goes back 20, 30, 40 years, we've been a very hardware-centric industry. And as we've evolved, we've started to have conversations about network connectivity, and then, okay, how do we translate this into IP and cloud security and software and software management and being part of a greater tech stack. You know, as somebody who exists in the object management and the digital transformation side of the world, what are some of the things from an outsider's perspective, maybe that you wish the Pro AV community knew and maybe learned a little bit more about that world of digital transformation as a whole?
Well, you know, Ben, it's funny, but you mentioned digital transformation, and the fact is that everything is going digital, right? That's not a new trend. That's a 20-year trend, and it's going to continue. And as we continue to see companies pick up these new technologies, they're looking for return on investment. They're looking at being able to be more efficient, deliver better service, reduce their costs. There's a variety of reasons, but that's why the shift to digital transformation is happening and will continue probably for the next, I would say at least decade.
Well, and that leads me to you, Dan. You know, you've seen it firsthand. Everybody in our industry, not everybody, many folks in our industry have been trying to find ways to bridge that gap between whether it's the IT community, the cloud, the software provider side of our community, and that larger digital transformation side of the world. And that's a need that you guys on the AVIXA team have seen and really proactively taken steps to really address. And one of those ways is through what I believe is called Transform, going to be happening next year at InfoComm 2024. But I want to step back a little bit further, right? You know, obviously, these two wonderful organizations have existed almost in parallel lockstep, but now they're intersecting a little bit. How did that come about? Was it intentional? And what are some of the ways that you anticipate each of these communities being able to help each other thrive?
Yeah, so actually not intentional, Ben. It was actually accidental. And winding the clock back a little bit back to just about 18 months ago when we had to postpone our ISE show in Barcelona owing to some kind of pandemic or other. And we ended up moving the show from its January-February time slot in 22 to May, and found ourselves co-located with this event called IoT Solutions World Congress, which was at Fira Barcelona, and Bill's organization, Object Management Group, was the content provider for that event. And that was the introduction. That was when I first met Bill, was at that accidental co-location in Barcelona, where ISE just happened to move to the dates that IoT SWC was on. And then fast forward to same kind of time period this year, I found myself heading up to an event that OMG was having, a member event was having on my doorstep in Reston here in Northern Virginia. And Bill and I got talking, and he's like, could we do an event together here in the US as opposed to in Europe? And I said, well, let's look at that. I said, but what would it be? Would it just be would it be IoT? Because we kind of tried to do that before. We tried to have an IoT pavilion at Infocom a few years back. Kind of didn't go great. And Bill, you were pretty emphatic. You were like, no, this is so much bigger and so much broader than just the IoT. This is digital transformation. That's the theme of this event, and that just really fired me up and got me excited because to me, suddenly you're moving beyond the IoT. Is we're living that already, right? Every piece of AV hardware is a device that's sitting on a network. We've been living that for 5-10 years or more now. But as you go into digital transformation, it becomes less about devices on a network and much more about how our technology providers can help businesses as they go through this period of digital transformation and use their skill sets to do that. So this is about bringing the business desire for digital transformation face to face with the service providers on the AV side who can help to make that happen with their skills and their technologies.
Dan, you bring up a really good point, and I think it's one that is whether it's unintentional or intentional. Folks typically see somebody operating a piece of AV equipment or installing a piece of AV equipment, or maybe even plugging in an RJ45 connector into a network switch, right? And they automatically assume that person is the smartest person in the world about not only their specific specialty, whether it's AV or IT, but they also expect that person to know about digital transformation and cloud computing and data centers and all these different areas. And Bill, I think that's a wonderful place where the OMG group really can help guide some of the conversations and give the traditional hardcore pro AV community some of those basic skills, right? Whether that's understanding basic infrastructure or understanding even basic terminology, things like that. So when you think about, Transform at Infocom, right? What are some of the things that folks can expect to go in, maybe that are traditional AV folks? What are some of those things that they can expect to learn?
Oh, sure. That's a great question, Dan. Now, OMG actually runs several different communities that are extremely relevant to the audience at Infocom. One of them is our augmented reality group. So I think as augmented reality becomes more and more mainstream across all these different industries and applications, we're going to see a lot more of that. We'll be bringing AR experts to the event. We also have a program for digital twin, and we will be bringing digital twin experts to the event as well. Same with industry IoT. It's not just IoT, it's applying IoT to industrial, manufacturing, government, academic types of applications. We've got a lot of experience with that. Our members span the world, so we'll be bringing speakers in from basically all the different continents to discuss how to get this stuff going, how to make it successful, and what to look out for.
Well, and one of the things, Bill, that you just said that stood out was verticals like government, like education, and so many different facets outside of traditional, maybe commercial installations. And Dan, I want to ask, right, as we, as a community, look to expand into these different roles and different verticals and things like that, the ask becomes a lot different, not only from a channel perspective, but from an expertise perspective and so many different things. How, what are some of the ways that you anticipate, the OMG and AVIXA partnership being able to help guide some of these conversations from us as a user group?
So, yeah, I mean, I think that, listen, one of the reasons that AV has been so resilient and has managed to kind of buck the trend of whether it's recession or whether it's pandemic or whatever it is that we've lived through over the last kind of 15, 20 years that I've been in the industry, we have a happy knack, I think, as an industry of being able to go where the growth is, and we can take our skill set, and if there's growth in events, we can take it in events. If there's growth in entertainment, we can take it to entertainment. If there's growth in the enterprise, we can take it to the enterprise. And I feel like now it's, it's really what Bill was saying. This is a lot of this is about application. We're a very, very versatile community now. We know how our technologies can benefit end users across a huge number of verticals, pretty much any vertical you could name. What we don't have, I think, is that bigger picture of what enterprises are trying to achieve. And this has been an ongoing process. This is the process that it's a kind of a journey I think that we've been on as an industry for probably 15 or 20 years, as we started to move from creating what was technically the best solution for our customers to a technically very, very capable solution that was better tailored to the needs of the customer, and finding out that needs analysis. And then the needs analysis has evolved over time. We've gone from here's what we need to accomplish in this room. Then that goes to here's what we need to accomplish in this facility or this campus. That then goes across to what we need to accomplish across multiple campuses, potentially worldwide. If you think of some of the big global rollouts of collaboration technology that have been going on the last year or two, and then you go beyond that. This is what we're trying to accomplish as a business with our digital technology, and AV and IT as a subset of that, collaboration tools as a subset of that. How do those things, to your point, what are the kind of areas of kind of mutual impact between the work that we do as an industry and the work that, say, somebody in cybersecurity is doing, or somebody in digital twins is doing, or work that somebody in augmented reality is doing, data lakes, data warehousing, artificial intelligence. All of these these are all kind of hot button topics for people, but the goal of Transform at Infocom is actually to bring them to life and put these things in a context that our community can understand and benefit from.
And to your point, Dan, one of the things that we have made a pivot toward from our industry is moving from project-based to business objectives-based, where
Exactly.
there is largely a much more holistic solution now that we're part of as an AV and integrated technology community, whereas it might have used to be, hey, I'm going to call my integrator so they can come fix my TV, right? That's an oversimplification, sure, but
absolutely, yeah.
Right. And one of the things too, Bill, and I want to bring you back into this is, we do a really good job as a community. I don't want this to be a, slugfest on the AV community, because we are a phenomenal community, but we do a really good job of finding technical solutions to problems. That's one of the things that really, I would say, is a hallmark of ourselves as an industry, and I want to ask kind of on the inverse side, we're not only learning from the OMG organization, we're not only learning from digital transformation experts, things like that at Infocom. There's a natural exchange of information. So from our perspective, what are some of the ways that we can help better serve the digital transformation, the OMG community as well, from at Infocom and just from an education standpoint?
Well, I think a lot of our attendees are going to be very interested to see what the latest and greatest products and services are, because they're not necessarily exposed to that otherwise. So we think there's good synergy between the two organizations right there alone.
Well, and I appreciate kind of that thought, Bill. It's so interesting to think of different attendees for a totally different purpose coming to Infocom, right? And to your point earlier, Dan, we've done pavilions, we've done specific areas and of the show floor and things like that. But it's really interesting to have a holistic show that's a little bit different coming in to learn. So, Dan, kind of want to fire this last question off to you, and then Bill, I'll give you a chance to answer it as well. But even looking beyond this year, right? 2024 is coming and it'll go just as fast as it came. What are some of the things that you can anticipate and we can anticipate as a community moving forward with this partnership going forward?
Yes, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there, Ben. This is about an exchange of ideas and an exchange of insight. This is about two communities benefiting from each other's areas of expertise. On the one hand, you have, a service provider community on our side, which is, as you say, technically very accomplished, definitely getting better and better at meeting business needs, but currently still very much on a project level, or maybe on an ongoing business level, but not necessarily on a kind of business strategy level. And then I think on Bill's side, you've got a lot of his members, OMG members, who are, corporate CIOs, corporate CTOs, the people who are responsible, software engineers, the people who are responsible at a high level within enterprises for making sure that digital technology is benefiting their business in very real, very tangible terms, whether that's greater efficiency, better customer data, better operations, better retention of staff, all of these different kind of business objectives that we've all become a little bit more familiar with, I think, over the last few years. Better use of buildings, better use of resources. That you know, OMG's membership, that's what they do. That's they optimizing, you know, digital technology to help achieve these objectives. So getting these two communities together and having them exchange ideas. Oh, okay, you know, you're trying to achieve X at company Y. We have Z solution over here that could probably help with that. Those are the sorts of that's the kind of dialogue that I'm expecting to come out of this. And I think both communities are going to walk away from the show in Vegas in next June with a really, really good new perspective on how they can be of value to each other.
Well, and Bill, same question to you. Want to have you land the plane for us? You know, obviously the partnership is mutually beneficial. And what are some of the things that you are hoping as an OMG organization to gain from the partnership in the upcoming years?
Well, you know, it's an overused word, but I think in this case it really is synergistic. I mean, we're bringing in the leading edge technologies and the leading edge technologists. They don't necessarily know what's available today on the Pro AV front. The Pro AV guys don't necessarily know where the technologies are all heading. So I think that we're going to find that it's a very symbiotic relationship between the two organizations. And I expect that there'll be a lot of good stuff that comes out of this event.
Well, certainly this will not be the last time we have this conversation. I feel like I say that about every topic on this show, and yet we continue to have the same topics pop up over and over. I can tell you this, I'm fired up about InfoComm 2024 for a number of reasons. Transform really one of the reasons, kind of leading that charge. Because I'm somebody who typically is pretty ingrained in the Pro AV world and interested in the new technologies. And, you know, whether that's on the marketing side, the design side, or the application side, I typically live in that world. And having a broader picture, you know, leveraging folks in OMG is going to be really impactful, not only for me, but I know for a lot of folks in the industry. So this is definitely a conversation we will continue. And Dan and Bill, we appreciate you coming on today and lending your thoughts.
All right. Thank you, Ben.
It's been a pleasure, Ben. Thank you.